Okay, we're live. Good afternoon, world. This is Hillary and Bernadette, Marketing Moms Trinidad. And today, keeping with our wonderful theme of productivity and time management, we're here to share with you some insights that both of us have gleaned from two very interesting books, Essentialism by Greg McKeown and Help Me by Tim Hardy.
Compound Effect by Darren Hardy.
Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, yes. So we recommend these two books, and we're gonna give you a few little outtakes on them and how you can apply them in your working environment, in your business, and even in your life. You know, how they help you be more productive and manage your time more effectively, because at the end of the day, we're only given 24 hours a day, and if we're good people, 7 of those are for sleep.
Some of those are for sleeping, yes. Very important.
So, Bernie, you want to start with Darren Hardy's book, Compound Effect?
My book review on Compound Effect by Darren Hardy is that he constantly talks about the basic fundamentals that anybody who is going after a goal. Now, Darren Hardy says that what did you do? Anyway, Darren Hardy says that the goal can be health. You want to be more healthy, you want to lose weight, or you want to have a successful business. And you know, I kind of ran over my notes because I read this book about a little over a year ago. And as I was telling Hillary before we started the recording, is that when you read a book like Compound Effect, you actually start putting the actions into its daily routine, okay? So you start doing the actions, and then you kind of forget why you do the actions. But then in reviewing my notes, I actually realized that I am still using the actions that he suggested, because every time I get overloaded, I could say overloaded, because when I take on so many projects in a day, and be it family, relationship, be it business oriented, be it a project that my child is giving me, because when they ask me to do something that demands my time, that's considered a project for me. All right. And the way to get it done is to put yourself on a clock, and you gotta, at the beginning of the day, you say all the things that you need to get done that day. And okay, so say for instance, you need 10 things done that day, and you normally only do like 5 projects, because you have to be realistic, okay? As you said, there's only 24 hours in a day. So let's say in this one particular day, you have 10 projects to do, and all of them needs to have something of it being done. And this week is posing to be one of those weeks where I am just like a whole bunch of stuff is being demanded of me, because I have to do a talk on Thursday. I have possibly career day at St. Joseph Convent locally, that I am begging for a time slot to talk about working from home. All right, because it's a career, right, Hillary? You agree? It's a vocation. It's a vocation. It's a job, right? It's a business,
and it's a business. Yeah.
So really, it is. Darren Hardy in Compound Effect tells you that if you have a goal to go after it, but it needs to be done in small steps, done every day. And every time I find I get frustrated because I'm not getting my stuff done, I go back to the drawing board and says, okay, what's my intention? What do I want to get done? And what has to get done? And so therefore, instead of spending 2 hours on one project, I limit it to like half an hour. And that takes it back down to the fundamental basics of repeating the steps that need to be done every day in order to reach and attain your goal. That's the overall thing. He keeps reminding us throughout his book as well, is that there is no such thing as quick fixes and magic pills and pixie dust. There is no such thing as winning the lottery and being a millionaire forever. Because he says people who win the lottery tend to blow it faster than a month or whatever. Okay, they win the lottery, and because they don't know how to manage money, the winning is lost. So looking at the lottery is not an aspiration any normal person should go after. Yes, Hillary.
Let me ask you a question. That does Darren Hardy give you, like you said, if you have 10 projects, does he tell you in any way in his book how many things you should work on per day, or does he give you a way of approaching everything that you have to get done in that day?
It's in the approach. The success is going to be in the approach, because he says, let's say for instance, somebody is doing a job, or they're in their normal job, and you're miserable because you can't seem to find time to lose weight, because this job has you all your time absolutely occupied doing this job. And he says that the only way to achieve putting in your exercise is by you making it possible. So for instance, somebody who's never exercised before, he says, okay, for 10 days, walk around the block once. And then for the next 10 days, make it 2 blocks and try to get it done in the same time, or 1.5 the time that the 1 block would take. And that's what we talk about, doing the action to get to mastery. And that's the compound effect and the ripple effect, because when you do the same thing every day, it actually takes less time to get it done. Of course, a proper exercise is 30-40 minutes. But if you've never exercised before, the important thing is to do what is possible, what's achievable. So if you have your 10 projects, all right, as I said, if it's important that all those 10 projects be done, then you need to squeeze and absolutely optimize the time that you work on each of those 10 projects. And the important thing that we're going after is the feeling of accomplishment. Because when you don't feel that you have accomplished what you wanted to do, then you go into frustration and you go into procrastination. And that's not going to get you anywhere. So what he's saying is he doesn't want you to go and do stuff that's just going to lead to procrastination.
Right.
And that's why people keep going around in circles and they can't achieve their success.
Right. So what actions, after reading the book, what actions does the book actually teach you then to take to stay focused?
All right. Excellent question. The fundamental is slow and steady wins the race. Right? So we're not going after, I want to do the marathon, and so therefore I'm going to run for 2 hours every day, because after a week of running 2 hours every day, something else is going to come in that's not going to allow you to run 2 hours. And if you think that if I don't get 2 hours, it's a waste of time going out, so therefore I don't run the 2 hours, and therefore 2 weeks go by before you run your next 2 hours, you know, and therefore the marathon goes out the window. So slow and steady. He talks about most people try the drastic way. Like for instance, if you want to stop smoking, right? You got to do it in small steps. Most people try the drastic way and then they fall right back to the old habit. So it's creating the habits. And I kind of somewhat answered that question before when I said that when I find myself getting into overload, I actually put the timer on, and I do 15-minute increments, and therefore I get it done. And that's one of the things I learned from Darren Hardy, as well as I think he did an interview. He did an interview with somebody, and he talks about setting your day, splitting your day in 3 sections. The people that you need to follow up, the projects that you need to get done, and then doing your email and stuff. And
marketing stuff, right.
Whatever it is your business is, right? And then with those 3 things in mind, it absolutely keeps your focus and it keeps your productivity up when you're working on your project. Because you need that when you're doing your project, you need to stay absolutely focused. And he also talks about taking your breaks. Right. And I have definitely implemented that. And something else that, what's his name? Adam Chandler, you met him the other day. Adam Chandler talks about when you want to make sure to keep your time management and your productivity level up, is that every time you change what you're doing, you change location.
Every time you change what you're doing, you change location.
Yeah, every time you change your project, you change your location. So say, for instance, if you're reading for your personal development, do it away from your desk.
Right.
So it keeps the brain,
it keeps the brain going. Right.
It gives you new air and whatever, and therefore you're able to produce. So for me, every so often I get off my desk and I walk around. And that's when I saw you putting up about drinking water. I said, well, that's going to force me to get off my desk. So I drink the water so that when I need to go to the bathroom, I have to get off the desk. So you have to, 15 minutes is your max that you should be doing any project. Exactly. Drink the water. All right, so that's how I keep my focus. And I have kept up with what Darren Hardy talks about in getting your productivity and keeping your productivity in order to achieve your success.
Your success. Well, that's good. That's very good.
Whatever it is your goal is.
Well, that's excellent. I think, those are some good takeaways. Slow and steady. I like that.
Slow and steady.
For young people, that's a little difficult to conceptualize, because we feel as if, we have to get this done before we're 30, or we have to, so.
Which is why it's important for parents to teach their child delayed gratification, so that they understand that concept of everything cannot happen right now.
Right. Yes.
Everything.
Yes.
Yes. Well, the sticking to it. It's every day.
Well, I think Greg McKeown in Essentialism, his approach, I believe it's a different approach. But his concept, his fundamental concept, if our viewers remember from last week, the cover of his book has a scribble over here and then a nice round circle. And going back over my notes as well, because like Bernie, I read that book a little while ago. And it's really the fundamental concept is less but better.
Right.
So his entire theme is about ways teaching you how to get less. And one of the example that he used from his book, I actually witnessed it at my old job, and it's so interesting that I was able to visualize this person and see them doing exactly what Greg McKeown was talking about in his book as what is a non-essentialist. So he says they're non-essentialist people and they're essentialist people. And essentialist people go after the less is more, less is better. So basically, now this didn't happen to this manager, but his story was, there was this executive and his company got taken over by another business. And so he thought that to prove himself, he had to say yes, yes, yes. He was the yes man in the company. So somebody came and said, we need this project done. Yes, I'll get on it. And yes, until he spread himself so thin that they actually approached him to leave the company because he was producing nothing of quality. Right? And we have that, we have that concept here, that sort of thinking here in Trinidad, that if I do a lot, I'll be recognized. But the reality is, if what you do is of zero value, then they're going to show you the door. That is what's going to happen. And that's what happened to this manager. And he went to his mentor and asked him what to do, because they effectively gave him an ultimatum. And it was either you could become a consultant with our company, or you could stay employed, but you're not going to be at this level. So his mentor basically told him, you choose what's important and focus on that. And it was, to me, that's something that, coming from the mindset of pleasing people, and the way you get ahead is by pleasing people. How do you please people? How do you get ahead? By accepting whatever request they ask of you. So, can you take me to the mall? Sure, no problem. And then you leave whatever you have to do to get done to decide. And last week, I remember I was focusing on trade-offs, and that is what he comes down to, that each decision you make is a trade-off. So it's not about being the mean person and saying no to everything, but you have to seriously make decisions as what's important. And the same way we clean out our closet and we decide, well, I haven't worn that in 2 years, so I'm probably not going to use it again, Although you may have some sort of attachment to the dress, it was the first dress you wore when your fiance proposed to you or whatever, you can't even fit into the dress. You haven't worn it in 2 years, but for whatever reason, it's still hanging in your closet, right?
I have those. I have a couple of those.
And that is the thing that, throughout the book, he speaks about a lot of, he refers to the closet, our closet, as the metaphor for our life and how we operate our business. And if we really think about it, sometimes there are projects that we hold on to for dear life because we're so attached to them and we can't give it up because we have so much invested in it. That's like that dress in the closet that you're never going to wear again, just get rid of it. Go ahead, right? So his concept of pulling things back, pulling things down, and getting to what is most fundamental, you make the decision of what are those key things that you have to work at, and focus on that and that alone. And then by applying Darren Hardy's principles, you could see how you can get those things done slow and steady. But you first have to pull back and say, okay, I'm not working on that. And actually, we had that example in our mastermind last week.
That's so. Right? The one that my internet refused to work for me.
Well, yes. Well, in the chat group, we had, one of our members in the mastermind post, just reminding people that there are many strategies out there. What you have to do is pick one. And that is so important, because you cannot allow yourself to be spread so thin that you get nothing done, So that's, that's the big picture.
The one thing that you and I both have not, stressed on is that the beginning of any success plan is your goals.
Yes.
I know. So you have to have your goal in front, and with your goal in front, every time, is that possible? You have to ask yourself, is it a distraction, or is this going to get me closer to my goal? And that's when you accept a project or you reject a project.
Exactly.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that part, but that is an absolute fundamental part of the
whole
doing
process. Yeah.
And in a sense, yes, I have. I mean, and I don't really number of projects I have on my plate this week, but each one I cannot not do. It's just so there's sometimes that happens, but you just have to remain realistic in what your expectation is, and sometimes yes, I mean I did it most of my life. When I find myself going to bed frustrated 3-4 days in a row, I would sit down and says, okay, what it is that I can take off my plate. And you seriously do need every so often to take a few things off your plate and just say, I can't do it. Give it back to the person who's given
responsible.
I just can't do it. It's impossible. I'm not doing it. And I think I did reject two projects for this week. And I was like, no, I can't do it. I'd love to do it, but I just can't. It's going to distract from what I need.
What you need to do, yeah. And essentialism, they talk about that. They say it's not about getting many things done. It's about getting the right things done.
Right. That takes you closer to your goal.
To your goal, yes.
Oh, excellent. So,
but you still have to have that. You still have to have that vision, as you said, of what is your goal.
Right. So before we run over our 30 minutes, can you? Is there a model that Greg McKeown has for his principles, his concept that he's trying to teach in his Essentialism book?
Well, yeah, and I think the best way for me to do that probably is to show it, because it's 3 things basically of how essentialists think, what they do, and what they get. Right? So it's a lot of mindset. And oops, hold on, let me just do a quick screen share here. If I can do that quickly.
It's strengthening the motivation is what I'm hearing from you. You need to strengthen your motivation in order to get to be able to keep repeating. Is the mindset you're talking about?
Yes. Yeah. You have to build that motivation. So if you could see my screen very well.
I'm seeing your screen.
Right. So you see this squiggly line, right?
Yeah.
That is where most of us, when if we're feeling overwhelmed, or we're not getting things done, taking too much on our plate, what tends to happen is that the thinking in this state, this squiggle state, is I have to be all things to all people. Right? And it's an attitude of I have to, it's all important, how can I all fit it in? Now, as Bernie spoke about that, yes, there are going to be some things that just have to get done, but you still don't approach it with the have to mentality. You approach it with the I choose to mentality.
Right.
Exactly. And you recognize what are the trade-offs in you choosing to do those things, right? And that's the thinking, right? And again, the doing, right? So what a non-essentialist does over here in the squiggly line is he says yes to everybody.
Right.
He tries to get execution done last minute, right? And he always reacts rather than pausing to think.
Right, he's running from one project to the next. So he's always, let's call it, on his back foot.
Yes, always on the back heel, right? And then what happens with what they get, what is the result, is that they live life that is not satisfied. So you were talking about those nights when you're frustrated. There are people who in their job, because they're non-essentialists, they're frustrated day in, day out.
Right.
Or even in their business, they're not seeing, because they're going round in circles and not seeing any results. It's because they're taking too much on. Right? You cannot be everything. And that is the result. When you take on, you see, it says it right here. The non-essentialists will feel overwhelmed and frustrated. And then what you realize with his model is that you have to constantly make a choice. And we say life is always a choice, right? we constantly have to make those choices, those daily choices. What's important, what's not important. And one thing that helped me, that because for me, I'm a person that doesn't know how to say no, or I was a person that didn't know how to say no. And in his book, and this is maybe why, you know, sometimes, as you very well know, I don't like to be out and about because it's hard for me to tell people no. Right? He actually gives you quite a few examples of how you can say no without saying no. You know, and one of the best things that before I left my office, I remember saying this to my boss, and she gave me this puzzled look. And basically, and this works perfectly in a workplace. If your boss is bringing extra things for you, you tell them, yes, what would you like me to deprioritize?
Yes, because I'm only a single human being.
Exactly. And it kind of hits them like, whoa, you're telling me no, but I never said no. I just asked you what you're willing to give up. And it comes back to what his principle is: less but better. We're making trade-offs here. Because
Right.
you can't, you could never possibly do all. And if I think in especially the work environment, having just recently left, if that principle alone is applied in saying no to what is not a priority, right, then they will workplaces will get a lot more done. And this is something that you could apply very easily in your life.
But that's why, in a sense, what you just said, I mean, when I hear bosses complain about their employees, I get so, you know, they're always saying, well, you know, you really can't get anybody to do a proper day's job. You know, I mean, my question is, what are you expecting from your employee? Are you being realistic? Are you being a true leader for your employee? Are you laying out, what I call it, exact expectations for your employee? Because if you do those things, your employee is going to do what, I mean, granted, yes, there are people, okay, granted, there are people who don't perform, because I mean, there's a group of people who just don't perform. They expect the salary, but they don't perform. But the majority of people, okay, the majority of people do like to perform. And, you know, it's up to you whether you want to feel constantly successful or you want to feel frustrated. It's up to you. It's your choice. And so therefore, if you want to feel successful, then you need to either read Compound Effect by Darren Hardy or you read Essentialism by Greg McKeown. Get the concepts, get into the habits, because it's habit forming fundamentals to get you to the success that you desire. And one thing before we go, we want to tell people, especially in Trinidad and Tobago, that if you have a project that you want to get off the ground, that you don't know how to share, lots of people have done their websites, a lot of people have done advertising, they've done this, they've done that, but they really have no strategy of how to put their whole, their marketing plan into place. And they're doing it Vike, and it's all over the place and there's no strategy. Hillary and I are having a social media marketing workshop starting this weekend. And the focus for the first module is Facebook. And Facebook module is going to take you over 3 sessions, 3 Saturdays consecutively starting April 18th. So definitely get in touch with Hillary, the Freitas, or get in touch with me, Bernadette Chinley. We're on Facebook, we're on Google, you can find us. It's very easy. Search your browser and we will pop up. And also, if you want to learn, or if you have any questions more that we haven't covered, definitely put a comment below, because we have 2 more sessions talking about time management and productivity for applying it in your business, right? And applying it to people who are in their job.
In their job, yeah. All right.
So
okay.
That even more.
Okay, well, guys, thanks for viewing today. As Bernadette said, we look forward to seeing you, those in Trinidad, at our social media workshop. If you are struggling with that marketing strategy, trying to figure out how to get your project off the ground. So this has been Marketing
Trinidad.
coming to you live. Take care. Have a great day. Bye now.
Excellent. Bye now.